everybody, welcome back to the channel. Wayne King here with 717 Throttle Therapy. And just hanging out in my garage. Got me a nice drink. Gonna go over a topic here. Some of you know I have a 2023 Harley Davidson Pan America, an adventure touring bike. And why pick an adventure touring bike? But I'm going to go over a few likes and dislikes of this bike. But first I want to explain a little bit, just real briefly here, the difference between adventure touring bikes and like dual sports, that type of stuff. There's some great videos out there on YouTube, you can look it up, that they go into more details about the differences between the two motorcycles, between dual sport or adventure touring. There are some differences. All right, let's start with the dirt bike. This is made for dirt, designed for dirt. It's not street legal, at least here in Pennsylvania. It doesn't have turn signals. It's not registered. No inspection. There's none of that. There's no headlight, no tail light or brake lights or any of that. A dual sport is basically a dirt bike with the ability to ride on the hard roads, on the highways or back roads, but it's street legal. Can be ridden in the dirt, designed for dirt primarily, but it can be ridden on the street. Has turn signals, headlights, all of that kind of stuff. An adventure touring bike, this is a Pan America, Harley Davidson Pan America, it's a 2023. This bike is designed, you can take it on the highway. It's comfortable for longer rides. I'll get into more of those details later because I've done it. I've done a couple of 1,000 plus mile days on this motorcycle with the stock seat, but I'll get into more details on that later. But this is an adventure touring bike. It can be taken off-road, however. It's not designed, to be used as a dirt bike. But it has the capabilities to be taken off-road and run on some of the same trails. But it can also be taken on the highway and you can tour with it. So that's kind of elementary terms on the differences between a dual sport and an adventure touring bike. Basically, an adventure touring bike is a touring bike with the ability to go off-road. A dual sport is a dirt bike with the ability to ride it on-road. There's some great videos out on this stuff that goes into more details on the differences between the two. So why an adventure touring bike? Good question. I didn't understand it for a lot of years. I thought they looked bulky. I thought they looked uncomfortable. I was like, why would you buy something like that? To each their own, I guess. But for me, I didn't think it was the type of riding that I like to do. I do love to tour. I like to get out and put a lot of miles on. One of the things and this is the way I like to ride, if I have a destination, I want to get there, and then I'll take my time once I get to the destination and do some touring there. But, for example, I went to the Stubborn American Rally at the K River earlier this year. Well, my goal was to get there. I was not looking to do any kind of touring or riding on the way there outside of just getting there. Once I got there, then I took my time, slowed down, did some touring in that area, enjoyed the ride a little bit more in that area, but my goal was to get there. So that's kind of how I ride. Pick a spot where you want to go, get there. And if it means you're putting, a couple 700-800 mile days on, well then, so be it. If that's what it takes. Then I'll take my time once I'm there and tour. I went to Florida a couple of years ago and I was on the Street Glide. I have a 2016 Street Glide special and I'm on my way home and I had about a 1,100 mile ride. So I want to get there. I had cruise set, I want to say 83, 84, somewhere around there. And I see a motorcycle in my mirror coming up behind me and he's moving right along. He was going quite a bit faster than I was. I'm guessing he was doing at least 90, if not a little bit more. And as he gets up beside me, I waved, he waved, and I realized it was a GS 1250, a BMW GS 1250. That's an adventure touring bike also. That's BMW's. And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, that bike's comfortable for the highways. He had Canada plates. So he was from Canada. I'm thinking, I got 1,100 miles. He's got farther than that. Are those bikes really that comfortable for this type of touring, for that type of a ride? So I started to research it a little bit. And in 2021, I took my first test ride on one. And it happened to be the Pan America because I have a couple of Harleys. So I know the different Harley dealerships in our area. I'm actually within 35 minutes of 4 different Harley dealerships here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so I started to research it, took a Pan Am out for a ride, and I was like, I came home, I told my wife, that's going to be my next bike. And I didn't specifically mean the Harley Pan America, I just meant an adventure touring bike. Because I was looking at some of the others, and it boiled down to the Triumph Tiger and BMW GS 1250. In all honesty, it came down to the BMW or the Harley Pan America. That's what it boiled down to. BMW's been doing this for a long time, decades, 30, 40 years. I don't know, maybe, yeah, I don't know exactly how long, but they make one heck of a bike. Harley, I mean, they just got started with this bike. They did have some that were similar years ago, but nothing quite like what you see here with the Pan America. So they're kind of new to it. At any rate, I was looking at both of them, ended up going with the Harley Davidson Pan America for the simple fact that I'm within 4 dealers, Harley dealers, within 35 minutes of 4 Harley dealers. The closest BMW dealer for me is about 15 minutes from my house. And I stopped there, I want to say it was in February of this year, and because I was getting down to the point where, you know what, I was getting ready to do a trip, a coast-to-coast trip here in June of this year of 2023, and I'm thinking, you know, maybe I'd want to take this bike, one of these bikes, on that trip. It was either my Street Glide or one of these, and I thought, maybe I'll buy one of these and take one of these on the trip. So I started seriously looking at them. So I stopped at the BMW dealer, was checking them out, ended up purchasing mine, the Harley Pan America, ended up going to Classic Harley Davidson in the Reading, Leesport area, Pennsylvania. And that's what I ended up going with. I know a number of the guys in there because I bought other bikes from them. This wasn't the first bike that I bought from them. And I thought, I'm going to stick with Harley for now. And to be honest with you, I do not regret my decision. I absolutely love this bike. It quickly became my favorite bike to ride. However, there are some things I don't like about it. So let's get into some of the likes and dislikes. I'll go over the likes first. So the likes. The first thing, the versatility of the bike. And if you own an adventure touring bike, you'll understand what I'm saying. You can tour on these. You can put 1,000-mile days down. No problem on these bikes. I mean, you really can. I've done a couple of them on the Pan America. I do have the stock seat. There's a number of people that they don't like the stock seat. I don't have any problems with it. Still have the stock seat. I do, however, carry a gel pad because your butt gets sore after you get to 600-700 miles a day. And it's kind of nice to get a little bit of a different feel and a little bit of a different position. So I do carry a gel pad, put it on my seat. That's interesting. Let me grab this real quick. I had a gel pad and I lost it and I misplaced it. My own stupid fault. And I was on my way back from Oklahoma at the time, and it was a 1,400-mile trip. I did end up riding it straight through, but I got to about the 700-800-mile mark, and I'm thinking, do I pull over and rest a little bit? Do I, get a room, or do I try to keep pushing through? I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try to keep pushing through. It was a nice evening. The weather temperatures were perfect, mid 50s. I love that. Those temperatures are great for me. So, but I didn't have my gel pad and my butt was starting to get a little sore. So I said, well, I pulled into a truck stop to get gas and I thought, hey, maybe they have some of those pads or something these truckers use or whatever. Well, they didn't have anything except this neck wrap. But it's gel. So guess what? I bought one, 20 bucks, put it on my seat, and I sat on that. And I did the rest of the trip on that thing. It helped just give a little bit of a different position, and I made it home, you know? So, hey, there you go. 20 bucks, man. Pull into a truck stop. If your butt's getting sore, you're on a long motorcycle ride, get yourself one of these and sit on that. So much for that commercial. So, at any rate, that's the number one like is the versatility. I can take it on the dirt roads. Did a hill climb down in Maryland. Actually, did on that hill climb the first time. The second time I made it. And that's the beauty of it. Now, some of the dislikes. Now, this isn't so much because of the bike or the type of bike that it is. It's more some things that I wish Harley would do differently. And again, their manufacturer, you know, I'm not saying this to slam Harley, because like I said, I mean, I've got Suzuki's here, I've got Kawasaki's, I've got Can-Am four-wheelers, you know, and there's likes and dislikes with all of them, not because of the fact of what they are, but it's just my personal opinion. One of the first things that I did not like about this bike that I changed pretty much right away, I spent about $100 and I didn't get top-notch stuff. It's kind of secondary stuff. I went on Amazon. I got fender extensions. The fenders are too short, in my opinion, and I think Harley should extend them. However, it is what it is. So I ended up getting fender extension, 20 bucks, got them on Amazon, one for the front. The front's what I was worried about the most. The rear, I also put one on there. But the front was the main thing because it was kicking up rocks into the radiator. I also bought a radiator guard. Got that on Amazon also. And I spent between those two things, I spent right around 50 bucks. So not a crazy big deal. But there's a couple of things but those are two things that right away I noticed that, man, because I took this thing on dirt within the first 500 miles and rocks were kicking up off that dirt road right into the radiator. And I was afraid it would bend the radiator fins or something. You don't want that happening. So I did get one of those and the fender extension. I got both right away. I put all of that on. Another thing that I did to this bike almost immediately, I bought it on a Thursday. That Saturday, I took it on a 200-mile ride, all twisties, back roads. I wanted to see how it handled, how it leaned in the turns. Obviously, the power, I knew that would be there. It's 560 pounds. It has 150 horsepower, 94 foot-pounds of torque. The sweet spot on this bike is in the higher RPMs, higher for Harleys anyway. 6,400 to 8,000 is where this thing just takes off. And so that's kind of the sweet spot, the power band for this bike. But I wanted to see how it handled on the road, on the twists and turns. And I was completely surprised. I couldn't believe how nimble this bike felt. So now get it. A lot of the bikes that I'm accustomed to, at least street bikes, I have a Road King also. My wife has a Sport Glide. You know, they're 600 pounds plus. My street glide's actually closer to 900 till I have everything, you know, in the saddlebags and everything, you know, loaded with me on it and all of that kind of stuff. But it's a much heavier bike. So I was surprised at how nimble this bike was. Then I got it on the highway. And here's where I get wind of one of the dislikes. Just sitting on the bike, cruising, which I knew we'd be doing a lot of on the coast to coast trip. I knew we'd be doing 700-800 mile days back to back for 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And that's where I was like, whoa, it wasn't feeling the best because I was leaning front too far and I was rolling my shoulders a little bit. Wasn't comfortable for me. So I thought, well, I got to get risers and highway pegs of some kind, the foot pegs to mount up front on the engine guard. So I ended up going online and getting their Pazuma. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Again, if you're worried about fit and finish, I just wanted something that did the job. Wasn't that worried about how it looked or all that kind. I mean, let's face it, I bought this bike to go in the dirt. I've already used touch-up paint on it. I've already dumped it on hill climbs. I've already, scuffed up the sides a couple of different places. The tank's been scuffed up. You take it off-road, you're gonna mess them up a little bit. So if you just buy it to just ride on the highway, yeah, you can keep it looking perfect maybe. Or if you buy it to just keep it in your garage, yeah, if you're not riding the thing, that's not why I bought it. I bought it so that I had the ability to take the thing off-road. So I knew I was going to be messing it up a little bit. Or at least getting some scratches and stuff on it. So with that in mind, I wasn't that worried about whether or not on the fit and finish with the handlebar risers. If you want something that looks real streamlined, you won't like these. I wouldn't recommend these for someone that has, your OCD drives you nuts because, well, it's not perfect. Things don't line up perfect. These do not line up perfectly. If you look closely, you can see it. Actually, you don't have to look real closely. You can see it pretty easily when you walk up to it. But for me, it's not a big deal. I didn't care about that. So they worked fine for me. They brought me up about 2 inches and back 1 inch, which put my hands and my arms in a much better position. And yet it's still comfortable for the twists and turns. So that was a couple of the things. That was one of the things. That's personal preference. But that was one of the things that I did right away. I also did highway pegs right away so that I could stretch my legs out and, longer rides, just give yourself a little bit of a different position. So the windshield, I like it. If you're taller than me, you probably won't. I'm 5'9". If you're 6 feet tall or taller, you'll probably want a taller windshield. Personal preference again, but this has 3 positions, which I like. It can be lowered and then a middle and high. When it's raining, I put it in the highest position. If it's not raining, clear day, I usually let it in the lower position. I don't like looking through windshields, so this windshield is actually perfect for me for where I like them when I'm riding. Same thing with the seat. I don't have any complaints about that stuff. The comfort of the bike, wow. I was surprised. I couldn't believe it. So, because coming off of bigger touring bikes, I thought, wow. And I was afraid with the seating position, I was afraid my legs would cramp up. They don't. So for those of you that have some questions on these bikes, maybe you've been riding, touring bikes or crotch rockets or whatever for years, and you're like, man, I might want to get into something that's a little bit different. I highly recommend an adventure touring bike. To be honest with you, I highly recommend the Harley Davidson Pan America or Honda Africa Twin. That's another great one. Triumph Tiger. Obviously BMW. GS 1250. You're going to spend a little bit more money on some of those maybe. But if you're looking to get into something that's a little bit different than what you've been riding, go take one out for a test ride and check it out. That's what I did, and that's kind of what sealed the deal. After that, I was like, wow, I'm getting one of them. That will be in my stable eventually. And now it is. We did coast to coast, that trip was a little over 8,000 miles. There are some other, I have some other videos out there. Feel free to go check them out if you want. But I loved it on that trip. And I'm planning another trip here in 2024, and I'll most likely take this bike again. Absolutely love it. Now, are there some other challenges? There's some electrical challenges and stuff like that some people have had. Harley's fixed most of the initial gremlins and little crap that happens with a first year release. I mean, you're just gonna have that stuff. And I mean, I was talking to a guy that was did a trip out west, and one of the guys was on a BMW, a GS 1250, and well, it left them set in the middle of nowhere. They couldn't get parts. They ended up needing to ship the bike back to Pennsylvania, and he got on a plane and flew back home. Wasn't able to ride it anymore. It can happen with any manufacturer. Does that mean that's not a good motorcycle? No, they make a great motorcycle. But it can happen with any manufacturer. One of the things that you do want to look for, though, when you're looking for this, what type of, are you going to be doing a lot of highway miles? If you are, and this is my personal opinion, but based on what I've been told from others that have them, the Africa Twin is not quite as highway friendly, for 2-3 days doing 700-mile days. It's better off-road. They say that about the KTM also, the 1290. I think it's a 1290. At any rate, know what type of riding you're going to do. The reliability of Hondas is hard to beat. And the Yamaha Tenere, I think that's how they say it. That's another great one. But again, those bikes, if you're going to do a cross-country trip or something, and if you're doing 200-300 mile days, you'd probably be fine. But if you're really going to do some heavy highway miles, you're probably going to want something more like the Pan America or, the GS 1250. Ducati makes one, an adventure touring bike. But you get to dirt roads, man, you just whip it off onto a dirt road and take off if you want. So that's a few of the things that I like and dislike. Another thing that I keep hearing people say is, well, it's too tall for me. How do you get on and off of it? Well, that really hasn't been an issue for me. And I guess because I'm accustomed to dirt bikes, I treat it the same way I do a dirt bike. It's like a step ladder. I grab the front brake, left, right side, whatever you want to do. Step up on the peg and get on the bike. Now I'm on the center stand here, so I did that from the right side. Most times I'm getting on from the left side. However, that's how I do it. And to me, it's not that big a deal. I mean, we all get on step ladders, right? Most of us do, or step stools. Put your foot on the peg, step up like you're getting on a step ladder. The kickstand. And here's a major, this is something I really wish Harley would do something different with. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know exactly what they could do, to make it better. I was told that they have another kickstand that you can purchase now that does solve a little bit of the problem. But I have the adjustable ride height, which is great. The bike slows down, it drops 2 inches, it takes off, it comes back up 2 inches. And I do love that. But the kickstand, depending on how this bike is loaded, you have to be very careful. It gets top heavy real quick. And I learned that when we were up in Pikes Peak, or not Pikes Peak, Rocky Mountain National Park. That's where we were. We were up top, and we stopped to get some pictures and stuff. I parked the bike, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, that thing feels like it's just going to drop over. It's just going to come over. Now, granted, we had a tent, sleeping bags. I had, clothes for 2 weeks, which, to be honest, wasn't that much. But I had other stuff. I had other gear. We had toolkits and all that kind of stuff in case something happens on the bikes or whatever. So I did have quite a bit of extra weight on the back here. But I learned that you really have to be careful with that kickstand. So I wish Harley would do something with that. Again, I don't know exactly what they could do, but I'm sure there's people out there that are a lot smarter than I am that could figure something out that would work better. If you're in the sand, soft dirt, it's not the best for that either. Typically what I will do is I'll put the kickstand down, I'll get off the bike real quick, and then I'll just put it on the center stand. That's how I do it. But at any rate, there's a couple of things. I do have the spoke wheels, which, again, not a crazy big deal. You know, the alloy wheels versus the spoke wheels. You got to know what type of riding you want to do. These are a tubeless spoke wheel. If you're going to be doing, you know, you're really not planning on doing any off-road, just get the alloy wheels. They are a little bit lighter from my understanding. I don't know. They say they will, you know, if you're in a lot of rocks or stuff, they'll bend quicker. Okay, you can mess them up a little bit quicker. So they recommend them. They recommend the spokes if you're going to do a lot of aggressive off-road riding. Let's use those words. Put it that way. Other than that, man, I love the bike. Check out some other videos to see the difference, because no doubt some of you have some questions about, well, dual sport, adventure touring. No, they're the same thing. Not quite. Not exactly. I actually watched a couple of YouTube videos. I just put in dual sport versus adventure touring, and there's a couple of guys that go into some real good details and explain the differences. So go check that out. Check out some of my other videos. Like and subscribe. You know, hey, this isn't some fancy production here. I mean, I'm doing this off of my cell phone. I'm hanging out in my garage. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just hanging out with some friends. I watch a bunch of videos. I love watching YouTube. I probably watch too many of them, really. But I love watching it because I love seeing people's journeys. And I also love getting ideas. And it's like you're hanging out in somebody's garage with them and you're just sharing some ideas, which is the idea here, which is why I started the channel, 717 Throttle Therapy. It's therapy for me. Riding motorcycles is. And I love sitting down and chatting with people, talking about different trips they've taken. Man, I tell you, when you get out there and see, when you're out riding and you meet somebody else that's on a motorcycle, and you start to talk to them a little bit, if you have the time, to hear some of the journeys that some of these guys go on, it's just, it's amazing. I'm hoping to be able to have more time the next, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, however long I might live, to do more touring on a motorcycle. Done it in motorhomes. You know, I get it. That's nice too. That's fun. For those of you that are RVers, God bless you. But for me, nothing beats traveling on a motorcycle. That's, for me, that's the best. All right, over and out. Like and subscribe. And hey, in the comments, if there's some other videos that you feel I would love, that you feel I would like, you know, maybe there's some other videos on the Pan America, maybe there's some other videos on adventure touring. Go ahead, put the comments out there, post the links if you want. Over and out, enjoy your day.